Okay, this is Paula Gloria, and I was in Tribeca. I think that's Greenwich and Charles Street. And this is going to be just sort of the venue for a very exclusive, I think it was put on by Donna Karan, breast cancer awareness or a fundraiser. And this is the idea of it's a nice, expensive shop selling expensive clothes for all the people in Soho and Tribeca, New Yorkers who are accomplished and have made it. But when it comes to health care, it really doesn't matter whether you have a lot of money or not. The important thing is do you have the knowledge that you need? So this is from a posting I put up on YouTube called Breast Cancer Psychological Operation. And I'm saying there are big money in breast cancer events. I point out the nice BMW there that's at the front. There's also a lot of bodyguards around it. And here comes Alan Steinfeld. He's the man that got me into this. And that was because we came free as media. I think it was expensive to get into this. And you can see all the projectors around the wall that are showing all of the images that speak of higher consciousness. Look at those expensive tables. The upholstery around. Again, it's just dripping in New York fashion, except that the topic is breast cancer. So it's almost like making breast cancer fashionable. And the question here is this really helping us to get well? That's all the water, obviously, purified fresh water. They're going to talk about diet, yes, cut back on sugar and things like that. Another elegant lady, of course, everybody in the de rigueur black of New York. I loved it. I love the vibe, except I just wish that the venue had more, beautiful people working in security and beautiful photographers. You can see those nice slideshow things, it fades away. This, believe it or not, is the Holy Ganges, I say, diverted to Tribeca, working overtime, globalization. Again, that sort of lofty look, sort of a warehouse space that's been jazzed up. That's so New York. What I say here was that this guru is about, a corporate guru, about as useful as the witnesses were that saw airplanes during 9/11. In other words, the allure and the illusion and the glitz of the corporate image is not the reality, and the reality is what we need. Here's media. These are really nice people. I didn't really know who they were working for, but it doesn't seem, since they asked us to shut the cameras off later on, that this was something that they really want to get this covered so that it can be scrutinized. The idea, I think, of media in a democracy is that you bring and you share images and you scrutinize in a group, and particularly for something like healthcare. I think it's very good to share experiences and not to shut them down. And Alan and I went to India together. We visited masters. We witnessed miracles. Here he meets one of the people in that alternative media place, or whoever the guy was that was shooting. I say Alan Steinfeld, one of the nicest men in the world. And part of bucking the system is you make nice people uncomfortable, and that's why those of us who are cut out to be healers and they want to really critically question, we have to sometimes distance ourselves from those who want to kind of interface more with the accepted and prevailing paradigm. Here I'm pointing out the Dalai Lama. I call him the icon of lost causes, and that's charitable. This is a book about Tibetan Buddhist propaganda and atrocities. Why, for example, after Tibet was invaded, why did the Dalai Lama, why was he in Peking? And again, as I'm going to mention later, when I talked to some lady who's really healed breast cancer or facilitated the healing that the body will do when you allow it to take place, how come our religious leaders are not standing up for the healings and making sure that the institutions do their job by paying attention to the intellectual material. Why are the peer-reviewed journals that the courts are being advised by not considering the thousands of studies? So, you didn't happen to have any photographs or pictures of this lady's breast cancer, do you?
No, I don't.
You ready to do the show?
Are we going to do it? Is it live?
No, it's not live. I'm taping it, though.
I sincerely hope not for this.
I really hope that I can get some high-definition cameras and videotape that, but I'm realizing that it's probably very hard to find that. Because it's so exciting, you know, your story, that I thought it would be best if I do it while the tapes are rolling so that my viewers can go on the journey with me. I think it's a great blessing to run into somebody like you, so I want to thank you for doing the show with me.
Well, bless your heart. I didn't even know how you heard about me or how you even got a copy of my letter. How'd that happen?
Let me tell you, what I'm going to do right now is switch over to Nighthawk Minerals, because that's how I met you. And the man's name is Jay Gutierrez.
Well, I know Jay. I started using Jay's products, I guess it's been almost a couple of years now. And sometimes I work with people who are in situations that are, I guess you could use the word unique, very carefully. That is, people who are in situations where the doctor won't work with them or has given up on them and told them there's nothing that can be done. You might as well go home and die in the comfort of your own bed. You know, that kind of thing. Call hospice. And I work with people like that who don't want to accept that.
Right.
I have a pretty good success rate, so I'm always looking for ways of helping people get to where they want to be.
No, that's wonderful.
I'm not. You don't see me on the web or anything because I just work person to person. I think, shortly I will put some of all this in a book. But mostly I work with people whose situations are close to hopeless or hopeless, and from the way they're looking at it.
Right. What I wanted to do was, were you able to look at the show that I posted? I called it Breast Cancer Psychological Operation in Tribeca.
Yeah, but, I just saw a lot of people wandering around.
Exactly.
That's all. It's like everybody was lost and everybody was going to do but didn't do. You know, I wonder, well, what am I supposed to be seeing here?
That's exactly. Let me. What I want to do is I want to show it while we're talking, because it's an example of a lot of money that goes into an event to give people, to sort of make them feel part of a group. But the problem is the group doesn't have knowledge.
Group doesn't have focus.
Yeah.
It doesn't have focus. It doesn't have vision. What is that biblical verse that says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge"?
Exactly.
And it's unfortunate, but it's absolutely true. I'm very much against those pink ribbon, what do you call them, campaigns.
I know.
Because none of that money is going toward breast cancer prevention or to help women not have breast cancer. It's all going to promote the whole chemoradiation surgery route.
Well, what was interesting, because I'm rolling it as we're speaking. What was interesting is you'll see, fabulous technology projecting images that, seem to be about higher consciousness, gurus and things like that, implying meditation, implying that it's, alternative, dealing with the mind being more relaxed and the mind being the source of the ailments of the body. And then very austere little things to eat, a little bit of wedges of lemon and nuts, and very, very high end. I mean, it's a very elegant setting in Tribeca. But what it does is it makes people intimidated to think, my gosh, there's so much money, so much image. I think Donna Karan was putting it on, that this must be the truth, and everything that they have must be, I shouldn't be looking any farther because, my God, they've got a guru on the wall. And I was so upset. They actually asked us to stop the cameras, and we had gotten in free. It was an expensive event to get into. It was a fundraiser for breast cancer. And I thought if I stayed, I would, get up to the microphone and embarrass the person who brought me, or make sure that he didn't
I
get...
have a tendency to do things like that. I'm Little Miss Corncone. I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm going, well, and that says what? And that serves what purpose? You can meditate until the cows come home, but until you kill the fungus, you're not going to get rid of the breast cancer.
Well, I had never even heard, the association of fungus, but I was just in dealing with my own household. I just sort of noticed if you're able to wash your sheets and hang them in the sunshine, the sunshine gets rid of mold.
Makes all the difference.
And the house smells nicer, and the sheets smell nicer. And then I started to think, when I had a mammogram, they saw some calcium deposits, and they wanted me to get a biopsy, and I just sort of freaked out because I thought, ooh,
Oh, absolutely not. Don't get a biopsy.
See, but I didn't know you then. I didn't have any of this support, and that's why I'm saying I think the time to start studying all of this is when you're not under pressure to make a decision, because you can have health care.
You don't have a gun at your head.
Yeah, and because they've been trained in a certain way, I think they're very well-meaning, but what I discovered was there was one lady, it was a friend's sister was an oncologist, and she told, and she knew I didn't have much money, so he was going to help me if money was an issue. So I was talking to her, and she goes, don't worry, I do boobs, and she had this easy bedside manner. And then when it became apparent that as soft-spoken as I am, I was a little resistant, she finally got to a point where she used the phrase, don't wait until it gets bloody and drippy. Now, once she said that triggered off that sort of fighting spirit inside me, which I have. And I said, well, tell me, how long does it take before it gets bloody and drippy? And then, once I put that in her court, then she said, well, with breast cancer, it can take years, months. I said, what do I have, weeks, months? She said it could be years. And I thought, just a second. And then I realized I'd never seen a picture of breast cancer. So finally on the internet somewhere, some little tiny picture I saw, and it looked like a mushroom coming out of the breast. And then the light went on, and I said, it's a fungus. And then I started this search. And
you were very fortunate to see that particular image, because it lets you know right away.
I know.
It's not what they're pretending it is.
No, I definitely understand that. But let me read the letter that you wrote to Jay, because I think the viewers would be really interested. It says, Dear Jay, these are just a few lines to bring you up to date on the breast cancer case I told you about last month. Remember when I was considering using escharotics, but feared that it would be too traumatic? I'm going to ask you at the end of the letter to explain what that is.
Okay.
As you know, I'm out here in the middle of Pennsylvania Dutch country, where there are many Mennonite and Amish villages. I'm writing about the Mennonite lady who took to her bed after an unfortunate fall that dislocated her hip. As I understand, her doctor refused to do anything for her. After he advised her earlier this year that she had breast cancer, she refused chemo, radiation, and surgery. They quarreled over her decision, so he told her that she might as well go home and call hospice. Her family called me the first week in July about a nutritional protocol. What I walked in on was not a pretty sight. Her right breast was just a hard, movable mass about 3 inches square. There were approximately half a dozen oozing sores, which she said had been there since February. So you were there in July.
Yes.
Nothing the doctor had given her had helped. She tried to keep it clean as best she could, but it was always oozing a very smelly discharge. You could pick up this odor when you walked in the front door long before you got to the bedroom. When I called you about our case, we talked about the connection of fungus to cancer and decided that a hot rock would probably kill the fungus and allow the breast to start healing. You sent the rock out. I got it over to the family around the 29th of July. I advised that the rock be kept on the breast 24/7. This has not been the easiest family to work with, for they don't always understand the importance of keeping in touch. Finally, after 3 weeks of silence, I heard from them on Sunday. It was the lady herself calling me, glad to report that not only had the sores gone away almost overnight, but that the actual mass was softening and felt as if it might be shrinking. She said that after putting on the rock, the oozing had stopped almost overnight, and that every single one of the sores had started scabbing over in about 2 or 3 days. She was delighted to finally see new pink skin where the open sores had been. She said that she did not experience any discomfort. Having seen some success, she is ready to get serious with her nutrition. And you go, I think this case is pretty remarkable in that this woman is doing little or no supplements. Plus, she is osteoporotic. Her body has been very acidic for a long period of time, and she has had trouble remaining compliant to her nutritional protocol. Yet the breast is well on the way to healing. It just goes to prove one more time that we are dealing with fungus. The low-dose radiation killed the fungus, and the breast started healing. I am so grateful that you were there to help me with this one. Thank you very much. So there you go. Do you have any comments, Maxine?
That's about it.
Well, first of all, let me see. I notice on your letter you're an ND, a CNHP, and a CNC. Can you explain what that is?
Well, actually, I'm a traditional naturopath. CNHP stands for Certified Natural Health Professional, and CNC stands for Certified Nutritional Consultant.
I see.
I got very interested in natural healing myself when I had some very serious challenges back in the 80s. And it was only after the doctors told me, well, there's nothing that can be done about your situation. You might as well go home and die in the comfort of your own bed, that I decided, well, I'm not going to do that. There's got to be a better way. And so I started looking on my own. And, well, the rest, as they say, is history. You know, I found out that what doctors really tell, what they are really saying when they say that it can't be fixed or there's nothing that can be done about the situation, what they're saying is that they don't know what to do.
Right.
And
right.
They don't say, well, I really don't know what to do about this. I've run out of all of the options that are allowed to me by law. Maybe you should go someplace else and look for some other answers. They don't say that. The way the terms in which they couch their dismissal of you and your case, those terms basically give people a death sentence, and that's really very bad, because there are answers out there, and I don't think people should be discouraged or dissuaded from looking for them. And so I went looking for answers, and sure enough, there were plenty of answers, and it was common knowledge. It just wasn't, staring me in the face. It wasn't on TV. It wasn't in magazines, but it was there. Now it's all over the Internet. If you just turn on your computer and look, you find all kinds of alternative ways of dealing with things, and I hate that word alternative, because basically we're not the alternative.
Yeah, I think you and I are going to get along very well, because I think the semantics are very important, and particularly the word cure. Yeah. I started to research that, and I realized that to say you can't say there's a cure for cancer is a political and not a medical determination. And the
yes, it is. It absolutely is, because the truth of the matter is I get phone calls all the time from people who are calling me wanting my services because they heard that I, quote, cured, unquote, someone.
Right.
I always tell them, well, you heard wrong. I did not cure that person of cancer. The only thing a man can cure is a ham. Body cures itself.
Right.
If you give it what it's supposed to have, if you help it detox, if you give it nutrition, it cures itself.
Right. But the thing is, cure is there. If there is such a definition as cure, if you look up cure in the dictionary and you find what it means, if anything can be cured that's medical, why not cancer? And yet, we have that locked out, and it's a political determination that is enforced by courts, that are advised by peer-reviewed journals, that block out thousands of studies. And that is so infuriating, because to me, then you have to call yourself alternative, whereas actually the alternative seems to be hijackers that want to interrupt the healing process.
Exactly, who are out to make money selling you fancy drugs that make you sicker.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It seems as though the big event, and I'm sure practically everybody participating in the event is well-meaning. It's just that when you do have associations that are responsible, and you assume they're being responsible to look over the intellectual material and the studies, and they're not doing it, then certainly a nice polished event that has that sort of high caliber vibe, it's very hard to buck that kind of energy. I mean, I felt the best I could do was leave.
What do you fight Madison Avenue? That's what I say to my clients, when I tell them little simple things that they can do, such as keeping their body alkaline, such as cleansing, such as using probiotics, little simple things that don't cost a lot of money. They say, well, why didn't my doctor tell me this?
Right.
And I say, well, maybe your doctor doesn't know about nutrition. But we say in natural healing, there are only two causes of disease. One is malnutrition, and the other is toxicity. So anything that comes along that is problematical to the body, instead of thinking of it in terms of a fancy name for a dis-ease, all we need to do is replenish the nutrition and pull out the toxicity. That's it.
Right. Now,
because the body is a self-regulating, self-regenerating organism, and it was built that way. I tell my clients all the time, honey, the miracle was built in you. You don't even have to pray for it. It was put there before you were even born.
Now, why do you suppose, are you a religious person?
I don't think so.
But it does seem...
I like to think of myself as being very spiritual, but not religious.
Right. But it does seem that, Jesus was known for healings.
Exactly.
And it does seem like today, you have religious icons that aren't... They're not doing their responsibility to see that the people are getting the healing. But
no, they're not, because...
But I don't want to be complaining.
People say, pray for me, I'm going to go for chemo. I'm going, what's wrong with this picture?
Now, I'm showing a picture right now of a hot rock that I used to put in my water. Mm-hmm. Can you explain?
Waterstone.
Yeah, waterstone. Can you explain about how hot that is? It's like a number 10.
Actually, I can't tell you in terms of technology, but I can tell you this much. When these stones are mined, no matter where they're, wherever they are, I know that Jay sometimes has gone to places where the mines are abandoned because whatever particular thing was being pulled out of there, they've exhausted that vein and they've moved on to some other place. All the water around that area is clean and clear. There's no fungus, no moss, nothing growing on that water.
And that's what they want.
And that's what you want in terms of the amount of radiation that's coming out of those rocks. Now that radiation is not as much radiation as you get from standing in the sun. Okay? Uh-huh. So you know that it's relatively harmless, but it's strong enough, apparently it's strong enough to be the arch enemy of fungus.
Oh, really?
Okay? So when you put it in your body, if you drink that water, or if you take the rock that you've gotten from that area and you put it up against your body in an area that has not healed or has been injured in some way, generally the reason injuries don't heal is to seek out any part of the body that is weak. Whatever part is weakest, that's where it can go and proliferate.
Oh.
And so, of course, if you've got a knee that just won't get well, or, you know, a tennis elbow that just doesn't seem to go away, clean up your diet, get rid of the sugar and the refined carbohydrates, maybe do some garlic and onion, and you'd be surprised at the change in the way that elbow will start feeling, because you're killing the fungus that is in that area simply by virtue of the fact that the area is injured or is weaker than another part of your body.
Now, I noticed in your letter you said that this lady really wasn't following, you know, her nutritional protocol.
Oh, it was like pulling teeth trying to get her to understand that sugar is not good for you.
Yeah, but she's still healed.
But that area still healed because of the concentration of the radiation right there in that area.
Now, do you think the rock was like a water rock? Because my understanding is I'm showing this to the viewers right now. It's at the bottom of a glass milk bottle.
Uh-huh.
And
I have one of those rocks in my kettle, and I have a tall water bottle. You can actually find radioactive rocks in the water systems, the water purifying systems that are being imported into this country from Japan and Korea.
Okay, so it seems as though other countries are ahead of the game. Is that right?
Because of the radiation that's in it. Now, the radiation, my understanding of it is that it only lasts it takes about 8 hours to charge it up.
Right.
Into the water.
Right.
And the water holds it, this is what Jay told me, the water will hold it for about 4 hours. So if you've got someone with a serious lung problem, and they drink the water, you know, here it is passing right into the body. It's a special energy. And it's going to start bringing down that fungal load. And it holds it, you know, if you put it into your body, of course it's going to dissipate throughout your body. So for 4 hours you've got that radiation,
you know,
healing, what we call healing radiation.
Because I don't think our system would let that go that long, right? This was a Mennonite woman who already squared off with her doctor, right? Her doctor was pissed off at her because she wasn't going to do chemo, and then he refused to help her for her hip. Isn't that kind of mean?
Well, I think it's a little mean-spirited. You know, this is what I have come up against over the years. It wasn't just this poor lady in this particular case, but, you know, when people have cancer, it's like the whole world turns on them. You know, they can't have a cold, they can't fall and twist their ankle, they can't have a broken arm or broken leg. Everything is, it's cancer, it's cancer, it's cancer. And common sense says, well, yeah, she has cancer, she has a cancerous condition, but she just twisted her ankle and it's broken and it needs attention.
Right.
The entire focus is just so myopic and so one-sided, just totally focused on the cancer. They might be depressed, for God's sake. You know?
Right.
There are all kinds of things. hormonal imbalance.
But Maxine, the way I'm reading this letter is, it sounds as though because she refused chemo and radiation, when she
got no help at all.
When she broke her hip, he held a grudge against her. Is that right?
Well, that's the way it looked to me, because nobody would do anything about putting that hip back together.
Yeah, I see. So, but anyway, it happened to work in your case for a very dramatic story. I mean, I just wish we had the cameras there. Also, you say that when you walked through the door, you could smell the cancer even before you got to the bedroom.
Yes, very often you hear people say that they went to visit someone who was at home dying from cancer.
Uh-huh.
And they get all dramatic and they tell you, oh my goodness, he's got cancer all right. You can smell it when you walk in the door. And, and people say cancer has a smell. Cancer doesn't have a smell. It's fungus.
Well, what is cancer?
If the person has been through chemo and radiation, it's even more fungus.
I see, because the body...
When you wipe a person's immune system out with high-dose radiation, or you wipe their immune system out with the chemotherapy drugs,
mm-hmm.
you have disturbed all the natural things that God put in the body to fight fungus.
But Maxine, my father has withstood 5 years of chemotherapy. He had a PSA test and then he started on this. Mm-hmm. I also think that there's something in the human psyche that wants punishment. It's almost like that Christian hair shirt type of thing. And it's like they purge themselves that way. I'm not suggesting that means it's good, but I am saying you do see people heal. Even after they've had this huge onslaught, maybe they have some kind of revelation about how important life is. Something seems to kick in, and then there's a radical change.
In spite of it, not because of it.
I don't know. I really wonder. And I also, what I found amazing about this letter was that, why don't you explain now what escharotic is?
Oh, escharotics?
Yeah, why don't you explain what that is?
It's a salve that's made from bloodroot. It's very caustic, and you mix it with a few other things, and you put it over an area. It takes anywhere from 5 or 6 days to 15 days, depending on how big the area is. And it literally pulls the cancer to the surface, and it forms a very big, huge, I guess we would call it scab. And then when it has pulled it all off, it actually falls off. But it does leave, it leaves scar tissue. It leaves a scarred area or a caved-in area where the flesh was.
Uh-huh.
And there are people who swear by this kind of thing, but I kind of sort of don't like the idea of people becoming disfigured.
Have you done it?
Not recently. Very long time ago.
I see.
Very long time ago.
So you went over there and you thought this would be a suitable case for that
because
kind of therapy.
there were other things I would like to have done, but they were not amenable to them. And it finally dawned on me, well, maybe if I get a hot rock, I can kill the fungus. The idea is to kill the fungus. One of the first things I thought of was maybe get her bicarbonate of soda. Believe it or not, sodium bicarbonate kills fungus just as quickly.
Yes, that's what that's what an Italian doctor is using.
Yeah, Dr. Tullio Simoncini.
Right.
But you've got to find someone who can give injections. I don't do injections.
That's true. In order to get the prostate cancer, I think he had to take a catheter down the jugular vein so it goes through the heart to shoot it to the area.
Well, you see, that would be the kind of thing that I would not be able to do.
Right, right.
You'd have to get someone to do that.
You know, he was going to be sending me a book. I'll have to send him, when I post this, I'll send him this and see if he can send that book, and we can maybe get him to call in from Italy, because I think it's really nice. He was just a straight oncologist.
Yes.
And he had a revelation in the cancer ward with the children. His heart was so broken.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking at his skin, or some skins, psoriasis. He had the revelation that psoriasis was a mold or a fungus.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, you know, the penny dropped. He made the connection that that's what cancer is, and that's what these children
Cancer is fungus. Cancer is yeast. It's fungus.
Yeah.
It's, you know...
But don't you think...
He's the one who says cancer is a 4-letter word. Acid. And it's the acid that is being created by the metabolic waste that the fungus excretes into your body tissue. And so, you know, the way I got involved with this whole fungus thing was years ago when I first started my practice. I discovered that many of the people who came to me with stages 3 and 4 cancer had really huge candida problems.
Uh-huh.
So I thought to myself, well, if I want to free up that immune system to work on the cancer, I need to get rid of this yeast, this fungus. And so I would put them on antifungal herbs and preparations, and I would tell them about staying away from sugar and white flour and things like that. And it was very surprising. 6 to 10 weeks down the road, the cancer would be gone. And so that's when I made the connection, and it happened consistently with every single person who would do that yeast or anti-yeast, antifungal diet. Their cancer would go away. And so I just concluded, well, you know, there's a big component in here. There's a connection between having an overgrowth of yeast and fungus and cancer.
Right.
And, of course, that's what Simoncini saw.
Right.
And when he started, I mean, can you think of anything cheaper or less toxic than bicarbonate of soda? I mean,
well,
how much does a pound of bicarbonate of soda cost?
Well, that gets into another area. How do you support yourself? How do you charge people? Since I've heard there's no money in cures.
There's no money in cures. It's absolutely true. I barely keep a roof over my head. Yes, that's true. But it's very satisfying when that phone rings and the person calls me back and says, I just came back from the doctor's office, or the test results just came back, and I am cancer-free. It's very satisfying.
Yeah, that definitely must be.
I've thought, you know, at this point, I think I better write a book or something. I need some residuals here.
Well, I think it's very important that we stay in dialogue and that you have people exerting themselves to study, and I think it's important to be open-minded and to include everyone, to realize there are a lot of people who can't let go of an old paradigm because their security is threatened. And I think it's really important not to hate them for that, but to be sensitive that that's a reality, and then kindly see if you can include them in a group that will start to do what the institutions are not doing.
Well, I think I've already started that on a very small scale. There are several doctors, medical doctors. I think I can safely say that they are friends of mine, and they are trying to incorporate some of these natural modalities into their practice, because they've seen the kinds of things that happen when the body is respected and given the opportunity to heal itself.
Right.
They have told me, quite frankly, well, we're plugged into a system. We have to do things a certain way. We have to answer for certain things. Otherwise, it's considered malpractice. But we're trying to find a way to change the system from the inside out, because we know that the way medicine is practiced in this country is to the detriment of the entire American public.
I think we have to start being courageous. I think part of my mission, being in alternative media, is to constantly say that people have to come out and start doing the right thing. I really, really feel for the karma of the doctors who are doing a protocol themselves and their close family, their family and their close friends, but they're too afraid of the AMA to give it out to their patients, and yet their patients are having excruciatingly painful deaths.
I've actually known of medical professionals who, after their own cures and after their family members, their loved ones, were able to cure their own cancer, who said that they could not in good conscience go back to doing what they were doing for a living, and they found other things to do.
Oh, my God.
It was very encouraging to me when I first started my practice.
Well, you are...
Encouraging.
Do you know any of these people? Because I would love to have them on my show. I mean, I think they are really to be commended. To walk away from a profession where you get $800 an hour every time a patient gets a chemotherapy session, and you've got kids in college and a wife that's, liking to buy clothes, and you're in the country club, that's a tough thing to do.
It's a tough thing to do, but there are a lot of beautiful souls out there who really and truly do want to help.
Oh, that...
I always tell my clients, don't be angry with the doctor. This is what he was taught.
Right.
Prove him wrong by getting yourself well, and then go back and try and share with him what you learned about nutrition and detoxing. And, I just feel that if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen from the grassroots. It's going to have to happen one person at the time. If enough people are doing it, it's going to rock the boat, and it's going to tip it over. And everybody is going to be forced to have to look at this whole paradigm very, very differently.
Wow. Well, that, Maxine, I think that says it all. How can, I was flashing your address here from this letterhead. Mm-hmm. People can call you at 717-630-0926.
Yeah, that's my phone number, but I don't advertise.
Do you give nutritional advice over the telephone?
Yes, I do.
And what do you charge?
Sometimes sometimes people call me, they're already knee-deep into a nutritional protocol, and maybe they've hit a glitch, and they need a little extra help. And so I charge $2 a minute.
Uh-huh.
And I talk them through whatever it is they need to do. Basically what I do is I write, you asked me how I earned a living, I write nutritional protocols that are tailored to each individual person's needs. For example, you may have 3 women with cancer, with breast cancer, but it doesn't necessarily get fixed in the same manner. You see what I mean? One
Right.
woman might very well be a beautician, or she might work in a nail salon, or she may be painting scenes on the soap operas at CBS, and she's being exposed to xenoestrogen toxicity.
Uh-huh.
See what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is, we say that xenoestrogen toxicity, this bad estrogen, this estrogenic type chemical that she's being exposed to, is shutting down her system to the extent that, she's developing tumors and specifically tumors in hormone-sensitive tissue. Okay? I would handle that maybe a little bit differently from a woman who comes to me who perhaps has issues because she's so deficient in iodine.
I see.
You see what I mean? I don't look at each person one size fits all. And I think that's why I have the success rate I do. Because I do take each one individually, and I do take into consideration what's going on with them personally or in their jobs, and then I work from there.
Now, I want to say, before we wrap up, in the water, this is pretty powerful stuff. I actually think I might have OD'd a little bit. I was getting a little nauseous.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. but
yes, you did.
So it seems to be kind of a fine art of balancing it, because at the same time I noticed that my skin became so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And Molly is swearing that it's helping her cellulite, or not helping it.
It does make a difference. It really does make a difference. Here's what happens. When you see the fungus, most people don't realize that the fungus is just eating them alive, and it's all through their blood. There should be a little bit of the candida in your intestinal tract, but when it becomes, then it's problematical. Okay? So when you start drinking the water, that's why they tell you don't drink too much at one time. Don't OD on it.
Uh-huh.
Just do a little bit, and little by little, gradually increase it. It's not the water, the radioactive water that's making you sick. It's the die-off, fungus that's making you sick. Your bloodstream isn't able to wash it out as fast as it's being killed off.
Right, because I have a tendency, my eyes get puffy, and I think, is that like a liver problem when the eyes get puffy?
It could very well be, or it could be that you're a person who you have a tendency to drink a lot of water at one time, and then you get totally dehydrated before you do it again.
Well, I am an extremist, but
So don't do that.
Just to kind of
do it gradually over the day. For example, if I always tell my clients the rule of thumb for water drinking is half an ounce of water for every pound of body weight.
Uh-huh.
So that if you weigh 150 pounds, that averages out to about, 72 ounces of water a day. But you don't drink it all at the same time.
Right.
You spread it out over the day. 2 or 3 ounces, maybe 4 ounces every hour and a half or 2 hours. You don't drink a whole quart of water at the beginning of the day, and then you don't drink any more.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I have another thought. What about castor oil packs? It seems as though that's a very different. Do you ever do that? Do you know about Edgar Casey's castor?
I know about castor oil packs. They improve circulation.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's what they do. They improve circulation.
Because what I do is I take white wool, I saturate the castor oil, and then I put hot water bottle on top.
Mm-hmm. On top of it,
and
yes.
I go into like the deepest state of rest. But it's a different deep state of rest than I do with the mud packs.
Okay, now with the mud pack, what I have my clients do is I have them make a little pouch.
Uh-huh.
If you can picture this, you take a man-sized pocket handkerchief.
Yeah.
Over. And you take strips of fabric, and in some cases I've told people, well, if you only have socks, use your socks. Get 4 socks, and pin a sock to each corner. So you've made yourself a little bit of a pouch with strings on it.
Okay.
And then you can slide your mud pack down into that pouch.
Okay.
And then you can tie the strings together, and you can secure that mud pack wherever you want to secure it. For example, over your liver or over your spleen.
Oh, you can kind of go throughout the day that way.
And you can go throughout the day that way. Sometimes, if I have a long trip, a 2-hour trip that I have to drive on because I speak all over the place, I will shove it down the back of my jeans so that it's right over that place. I have a scoliosis.
You have scoliosis?
And yes, I do.
So do I. I had 10 vertebrae fused and 2 metal rods put in my back when I was 14, and then I learned how to meditate when I was 21, and my spine started shifting. So against my orthopedic surgeon's advice, I had the rods removed.
Well, it just goes to prove the body can fix itself given the opportunity.
Yeah. I want to show you something. You won't be able to see it now because you're only on the speakerphone, but when I post this on YouTube, this is another product that was made by a man named Mark Squibbs, who knows Jay, who put some of the radiation into a pad that's just sort of a little bit easier to, to place on the body. So have you heard of him, Mark Squibb?
No, I don't know the name.
It's interesting. There seems to be high-tech solutions and low-tech. I call this low-tech, and I adore this solution because I'm sort of a meditative type of person, and I like kind of working with things throughout the day in my space.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're with some of the machines, the pulse magnetics or the sort of Tesla-type devices, then it's a very strong experience for, say, an hour. And then, although I had a very dramatic experience in one of those machines, and it lasted for a long time, for days,
wow.
Still, I felt like I could sort of work with myself more with these products. And
yes,
like,
you can.
You know, like how much water you drink. And
is that, in spite of everything that people say about radiation, because we do live in a radiophobic society, everybody thinks that if you say the word radiation, that's very bad. All radiation is bad.
I know.
But it's not. It's not low-dose natural radiation coming from stones or mud packs or spas, springs that you go to. The reason those waters are healing is that they've run over radioactive rocks.
Right.
And what is happening when you're exposed to this low-tech technology, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, that's what I call it, just because I know the high-tech guys. And these guys are secretive because they don't want their labs to be kicked in because there was a lot of trauma in the past.
So what happens is with this low-tech radiation, you have what we call a balancing act going on in every cell that's being exposed to it. We use the word homeostasis, but it's just a 50-cent word meaning balance. It's it's trying to balance the organism to keep it on an even keel. And I think that's basically what is happening with this so-called low-tech technology. Anything that can kind of quiet down the cellular activity. The cells get hysterical when they're in fear of being annihilated for one reason or another. And this is kind of an energy exchange that just quiets everything down. And that's why I believe this whole thing that you say about being in a meditative state, people don't realize that they too emit radiation. We radiate. It's a far infrared radiation that comes from us. That is the life that is in us. And I think that with this low-tech technology, like the stones and the mud packs and the water stones, it's just kind of something meeting with our own energy force field and just quieting it down, calming it down, putting it back in control, putting it back in balance. Now, I know that sounds like hocus pocus,
No, I don't think it sounds like hocus pocus at all, but it does sound like a certain amount of work because you have to start paying attention to yourself. That's why I'm saying I see a lot of people.
Well, that's what I
where
do.
They just
I teach people how to listen to their bodies.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that
learn from their bodies?
Isn't that kind of what praying before you eat is about?
That's exactly what it's about.
Just to cultivate a mindfulness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hit the nail on the head. You've got a big hammer there. Absolutely.
Well, Maxine, I'm just thrilled to be working with you. I'm going to post this, and let's stand by and see what happens. I get viewers, I have subscribers, and then people leave comments. And I just
Bless
feel...
your heart. I hope this helps, because there are so many answers out here, and everything doesn't work for everybody, but there's a reason why.
Yeah, right.
There's something else better. But in terms of something that is within the grasp of the common man and woman, you know, radiation hormesis is one of those things.
Great, and I just want to also tell people nighthawkminerals.com is where they can get a really nice kit for. I mean, it's the best investment.
Absolutely. I think Jay has finally put it all together now. It's not just the mud pack; it's the mud pack,
right?
The
hot rock,
large stone, and then there's a hot rock to put in your water jug.
Right. That's great. Okay, Maxine.
Well, bless your heart. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, take care, and over and out.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye. Isn't that kind of what praying before you eat is about?
That's exactly what it's about.
Just to cultivate a mindfulness?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hit the nail on the head. You've got a big hammer there. Absolutely.
Well,